It is a rainy, dreary spring day, but we are cozy in our studio. So grab yourself a cup of tea because it is time for a desk tour. Cheers and welcome back to my abiding journal. My name is Kelsey Lee if you are new, and I'm really excited today to share with you a tour of my creative space. This is where I do all of my creative journaling, crafting, art. Now, before we move to what's on the desk, I actually want to start with what's next to the desk. So this is my triangular letterpress file cabinet, and it is my pride and joy. And I wish I could provide a link for you in the description because I get questions about this all the time, asking for where you can get one too. And unfortunately, this, like a lot of my items, is a thrifted find. I love to thrift. I love vintage things. I love the sustainability. I love the hunt. And this is one that I actually found on Facebook Marketplace. I was not looking for a triangular letterpress file cabinet. I was just perusing Marketplace as one does, and I saw this listed for, I want to say $25. And the light bulb went off in my head, and I said that would be amazing pen storage. So obviously, I reached out to the seller and bought it. I think they didn't realize what they had because I've looked for these online since because so many people ask me where they can get one, and they definitely range in prices much higher than what I got it for, but it really does make incredible storage for pens. So if you ever see a triangular letterpress file cabinet, or you can try and hunt for one on your marketplace or eBay, it is a very special and unique way to organize some of your stationery, especially your pens that should be stored horizontally. Because it is shaped like a triangle, you kind of have to figure out which items are shortest to put towards the top, and then my longer pens I put at the bottom because there's longer space in the triangle setup. So at the top I have some of my favorite washies. I have a little roller stamp. Then I have some ink, some post-it notes. These are just some little sticker books that I've placed in here. And then I have some of my favorite pens. And so if you want to know some of my favorite stationery items, I have lots of videos about it, so go ahead and subscribe. But just a few of my favorites are the mild liner highlighters. The microns are great, of course, for some waterproof pen options. I have these Rytech gel pens. These are my favorite pens for hand lettering. These are the Tombow Fudenosuke hard nib pens, and I just recently got these ones because they are the colored options. I also have a bunch in black, some Arteza white gel pens, and some Posca white markers. Those are my favorite white pen options. And then I have some Le Pen pens. I really enjoyed those as well. Those are just some glittery jelly rolls. These are really great. What brand is this? The Spectrum Noir metallics are really great for a metallic touch. And then I have my Tombows, and the Tombows are a pen that I use literally every day in my journaling. So highly recommend if you're just getting started, getting yourself a pack of Tombow dual brush pens. Then down at the bottom, I have a little watercolor tin and some pen refills, and my favorite pen that I use for all of my journaling, which is the Sarasa Dry Airfit Grip Pen. That is my pen storage that I keep right next to the desk. I highly recommend if you want to be somebody who is journaling regularly or getting creative on a regular basis. The most important thing is to keep the tools that you most want to use readily accessible and visible. As we go around the rest of my desk setup, you're going to see that that is a method I use again and again. I am trying to keep the things I most want to use accessible and visible. So this is a standing desk. As you can see, I am standing. It is at standing height, and it is from FlexiSpot. And this has totally changed the game. I can't believe I went so long without having a standing desk, and it's so easy to adjust because it is all electrically powered, and I just, at the press of a button, can lower the desk and make it raise again. It has just been so nice to be able to work in my journal, draw, package Happy Mail here at my desk while standing. Revolutionary, I know. I knew I wanted one that was going to be big enough for me to spread out all of my supplies. If you have ever done one of my live journal with me's, you know how much I spread out all my stuff, and stuff gets lost very quickly on my desk, so I need lots of space. And then I also wanted it to be very durable since I am going to be doing a lot of art at this desk, and FlexiSpot has totally exceeded my expectations. I love it and can't recommend it enough. If you are interested in trying a FlexiSpot desk for yourself, I have a link in the description, and they are always running some kind of amazing deal. So definitely check that out if you are interested. So if we then pan out to the full desk, you can see how I typically have it laid out when it is clean, of course. As you're gonna see when we get over to the bookshelf of creativity, I have all of my supplies readily accessible here. And what I like to do is when I'm creating, just take the thing that I need and move it to my desk at that point in time. But otherwise, I keep the desk very clear so that I have maximum space for actually creating. So let's then start over in this corner and work our way across. This is an item that I thrifted and shared in my studio refresh, and essentially it's a little mail organizer, and I haven't set it up yet in the way that I want, but I would like to eventually put a bunch of my journaling cards in here and organize them for easy access. Let's see how many times I can use the word access in this video. These two items are very exciting and aren't normally on my desk, but I did just get them. This is a mini watercolor kit, and look at this. Oh, how fun is that? So this is actually going to be shared in an upcoming video that is going to be my setup for a mini travel journal kit, because I'm going to Spain very soon in 2 weeks, and I want to travel journal while I am there walking the Camino de Santiago. And so I got 2 different travel sets to try, and we're going to be setting up that kit in a future video, so make sure you are subscribed for that. Here is the base of my lamp, and here you can see the full lamp. This is a lamp from a company called Canvas, and if you are getting into content creation at all, I highly, highly recommend it. Not sponsored, but it is something that I purchased for myself as an investment into my business, and I absolutely love it. As you can see, it has a place for me to put my phone, so it makes it very easy to do my overhead shots and also do live streams and that sort of thing. And it just looks very clean and modern and aesthetically nice on the desk. And it has this nice, very solid, heavy base to keep it from tipping over. And then of course it has the light to light up our journal, which we'll talk about in a moment. Over here, I just have a little speaker. I've really been enjoying lately putting an audiobook on and playing it through here. There's something about it coming through a speaker and not your phone that feels better. I don't know why. This is just a cool little organization thing that I keep on here. Nothing very exciting is stored in here, but that is nice to have handy when there are things I want to have very readily accessible. This is supposed to be a little thing you like run over your desk to clean it up, but I'm not totally convinced it works very well. At the center of my desk, I have this stand where I typically put my laptop when I am working, but it also makes a very nice display for my journaling. So here is my finished entry for March. If you are new here, I document my life 1 month at a time, and share the process with all of you and encourage you to do the same as part of our monthly journaling club. It is completely free, and we get together once a month to do this process live. And this year, we are also playing bingo. So we're creating these really fun bingo boards over on my Patreon. And you can get access to these and tons of printable stickers and more. And it's just a great way to encourage yourself to do fun things every month. And then under here, I have my common planner. And if you are interested in seeing this more in depth in how I set it up and how I use it, I have plenty of videos here on my channel all about that. And then lastly, over here in this corner, I have this really beautiful wood, I don't even know, what do I call this? Stand piece of art that my dad made for me. He intended for it to be a shelf, but instead I decided to just kind of sit it in the corner of my desk as a place for me to keep some Post-its. I've got my fountain pen here that a friend of mine made. Of course, my avian scissors and a little paintbrush that can go in the little holes that he drilled. Super cute and fun little addition to my desk. And then it has this little hole here for an inkwell, or in this case, a candle. And then I did want to also share, of course, I have my cup of tea and my teapot. This is now a mainstay of my desk because I discovered the beauty of a teapot warmer. Literally, all you do is put a little tea light in there, and you would be amazed at how that keeps your tea piping hot, so you can just keep pouring yourself new cups. And it allows me to do nice long journaling sessions while always having a hot cup of tea. It is probably one of the best investments in my desk setup. And then to the left of my desk, I have my printers. So this is the Epson EcoTank 8500, and I highly, highly recommend the EcoTank printers if you're doing a ton of printing. It's amazing. I plan to do a video on it at some point, just haven't gotten around to it yet. And then I do have a video on this printer, which is the Lian PixCut. This is amazing because it not only can print out your stickers and photos, but it also can cut out your stickers all in one. So you can learn more about that by checking out that video. And then on top, I have a nice Women in Art book for a little bit of inspiration. I'm not going to talk about these drawers because actually a lot of them are empty. I need to do some organization of some of my other supplies and fill these out. Under my desk, I have a little rolling cart that my mom got me for my birthday several years ago. So all of these drawers pull out. On the top here, I have some of the key items that I use pretty much anytime I'm sitting down to creative journal. I have my glue. This is the mono liquid glue from Tombow, one of my favorites. I have all different types of scissors, X-Acto knives. I've got a bunch of colored pencils. These are the Prisma color pencils. Back here, I have one of my all-time favorite stencils, as well as on the side here, these are favorites as well for big letters. I also have some pencils, and then I have my ridiculously giant Easy Runner Grand scrapbook adhesive. So that's just a tape runner that is a rather ludicrous size. I also have some of the mini tape runners as well. And then of course we have washi tape. I try to keep them organized by color and type, and so that has worked out fairly nicely for me. And then the second drawer, more washi tape. And all of the boxes in here, for the most part, like this little box and like this one especially, I'm pretty sure I got from like cookie packaging and literally just foods that have these little trays in them, cookies, crackers, that kind of thing. So I'm always trying to think of how I can repurpose things, and that can just be a helpful way to help organize your stuff is try to put like items together in smaller compartments. So in this little box, as you can see, I have all of my winter and Christmas washi tape. In this one, I have a bunch of the thicker, big rolls of washi that have more of a vintage feel. And then in this drawer is more kind of like random items. I've got some watercolor palettes in here. I've used these before in some journal entries. They're so fun. The Color Burst by Ken Oliver. Some little mist sprays, baby wipes, which I use frequently when I make a mess. And then I've got my heat gun, stapler. So just some random odds and ends. All right, we're now gonna end with my bookshelf of creativity. It is an extension of my desk and my creative space because this is where I go to take items to my desk that I want to work with. And so I really like to have everything visible and accessible. And while I thought about maybe having more clothes storage or even getting like a little curtain to close it off, which maybe still is an option because it does look a little busy and messy. Ultimately, I don't mind that as much because I know that it makes me more productive and more likely to use the things I have if I can see them and know that they are there. I do want to say one little disclaimer and PSA before we continue. And that is, as you're looking at my desk setup and creative space, as you're looking at others online, I really encourage you to try and not compare. I really want to encourage you to not be tempted to think that you need more things to be creative or that you don't have enough. It's important to remember that I have been creative journaling and scrapbooking for over a decade, and so I have acquired a lot of this stuff very slowly over time. As I said, a lot of my stuff is thrifted, or a lot of it actually is gifted to me or inherited from my mom, who was a huge scrapbooker. So much of this is inherited from her. And then I also, of course, do this as a part-time job. And so a lot of items are sent to me and gifted. So it's just really important to not compare yourself to me or anyone else and to keep that all in perspective. And the most important thing I want you to take away from this video is to look at what you already have and think about how you can make it visible and accessible so that you are more likely to use it and get creative. Sorry, my head was a little cut off in that clip, but moving on, let's now talk about what is on each of my shelves. First, admiring the art behind it. This is a piece by Ali Brown here on YouTube, wonderful artist, thrifted. And those two things are actually posters that I got from Barnes & Noble. So all different sources for items. This is a beautiful hurricane lamp that I thrifted actually in two separate pieces. I thrifted this first and then it was missing the top, but then I found a top and thrifted that. So that is why it is a little mismatch, but I love it because it makes it uniquely mine. Under that, I have The Silent Unwinding by Jackie Morris, one of my favorite artists. I have some boxes here that I keep some stickers in. On top is this gorgeous piece of pottery for holding your paintbrushes that I got at a craft market. I have a nice little plant here, and then below that, some of my favorite books that are related to creating and art. And then next to that is my alphabet stamp set, one of my most used items. And on top is this gorgeous pen and ink set. I shared that story before, but this is an item that my mom had purchased for me before she passed away and then stored away, I guess, in a closet to save for Christmas. And my dad found it after she passed, and then he gave it to me from her for the first Christmas that I spent without her. And so it's very special to me for that reason. And then we move down to the first shelf. And on here, I have one of the new items that I did purchase when doing my studio refresh. And that is these amazing art drawers from Meeden that I can store all of my colored pencils in, different markers. They are so fun and functional, and I absolutely love the way that they look. On top of that, I have a little wire basket I got from the Dollar Tree, and that has some of my papers that I use most often for my printer. And on top of that, I have a paper trimmer, again, an item that I use almost every time I sit down to creative journal. And then over here, I have my photo papers. And then in this box, I actually did a little bit of washi over it because I didn't love the aesthetic of the box itself. But that is my acrylic markers from Artsy, which I absolutely love using. And in front of that, I keep this little Powa shell. I did a whole video actually talking about how the journal is like the oyster, just like the world is your oyster, the journal is your oyster. And I used this as my illustration item, even though it's not an oyster shell, but you get the picture. And then I have this beautiful mail carrier, and you guessed it, it's thrifted. Just has some little different envelopes and papers and stickers that I would use for my journaling. And behind that, I actually have an entire little crate of tons and tons of sticker books. A lot of those are by the Happy Planner, and those I collected truly over like the last decade. And then our next shelf down has some of my books that I use to cut apart. So I've got my Daphne's Diaries. I've got these neat books that I literally got from a library sale. Great tip if you're looking for very cheap journaling supplies is go to your library sale or Goodwill and look for beautiful picture books that you would want to give a second life by cutting apart. And then I have some sticker anthologies. This is a cool crystal pen set that my mother-in-law got me. And here I have my tiny book of tiny pleasures. This is like $5 on Amazon, and I love cutting these apart for my journaling too. I then have a bunch of paintbrushes, and behind that are my little jars for painting. And then we have one of my favorite organization hacks, which is to get a cheap dish rack. These are from Amazon, and use them to store some of your journals and little books like I have here. And then these are one of my absolute favorite organization hacks, and that is to get these clear binders for your sticker storage. And I specifically use these for my washi tape from the washi tape shop. And what is so great about these is I can cut apart the washi so they're no longer on the roll and treat them more like sticker sheets. And then it makes it so easy to flip through and find what I need. And then I also can just put a little label on the side about the types of stickers that I keep in this book. And then underneath this, I actually have a box that houses all of the full rolls of the washi tape from the washi tape shop. They're my absolute favorite place to get washi tape. I'm actually going to be sharing some new washi from them with you in my next video. This is actually a box that came with a little ribbon from the dollar store to be a gift bag, but it is sturdy like a box, and so I'm using it for some sticker storage. So head to your local Dollar Tree and get some of those as some helpful storage. And then I have some of my most used journals here on the right. And as we move to the bottom, we get to some of my less used items. I actually don't have anything currently in this box. And then on top of that, I have some pastels. I've got some acrylic paints, some gouache paints. I don't even know what's in here. Oh, this is just random little bits and bob papers. I have some more stencils and some little stamp sets as well. This is another mail organizer. Again, you'll see me using those all of the time. Highly recommend. There is something you can find thrifted very often or get pretty cheaply at your local craft store. And I have some of my word strips in here, just some little additional stamps that I have. And in the back here, one of my favorite tips is to organize some of your ephemera and stickers by theme. If there are certain themes that you tend to journal a lot about, for me, nature and outdoors and travel is a good example. It's helpful to have a little bag. You can literally use a gallon size Ziploc. It doesn't have to be fancy. And put anything related to that theme in that bag. And then finally, here on the right, I have a folder of all of my scrap sticker paper. This is just little bits that get cut off when I'm cutting out pieces from my stickers and have like a random little piece left. I like to save those because I often use them as a whiteout strip. Great idea. And then last but not least, I have these folders, which are incredibly helpful for organizing your stickers and for me, specifically organizing my printable stickers. So if you are new here and don't know, I create digital stickers over on my Patreon and share new ones every single month and have been doing so for a very, very long time. And as a result, there is a huge, huge library of stickers for your journaling, for your travel journals, for your Bible study. So many stickers, planning as well. Literally anything that you would want to document, I probably have a sticker for it over on my Patreon. Here is one of our latest kits, the Good Morning kit, and then also a Good Evening kit. And I would absolutely love to have you join us over on Patreon. When you join and become a paid member, you get access to all of those stickers available on your tier. And you also can join for completely free if you just want to stay in touch with our community and get access to some of our freebie stickers. So that is my bookshelf. And then next to that, I do have this rolling cart with a bunch of additional random items that frankly are not organized at all right now. And so I'm not going to bother going through that, but maybe in a future video, if it interests you, we could do an entire organization video going through that cart and also building out this cart and have some organization fun together. I think my tea got a little cold, but again, I can just add some more and it's nice and hot again. So I hope that you enjoyed hanging out with me today and getting a peek inside of my studio. Ever since doing my refresh, I really feel that this is a space I want to spend time in, and I feel like I've really set it up to be a functional space that is very effective at making everything visible and accessible so that I actually get creative. And that is what I want for you too. So I hope that you leave this video inspired and maybe encouraged to do a little bit of organization in your own space. Maybe you got some ideas and tips for how you can work with the supplies that you already own or go out and thrift an item to get a little bit more organized. If you got something out of it, please do leave a comment letting me know. If you have any organization hacks that you find work really well for you, share those in the comments so others can learn from you too. A big shout out and thank you to all of my patrons who make this possible. If you are interested in getting access to tons of printable stickers and additional bonus content, I would love to have you join us over there. And if you want to see how I got my space looking like this, because believe me, it was a hot mess before, then I encourage you to check out this video next for my studio refresh. I will see you there or in a future video very soon.